Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pruning to Prosper. I'm your host, Gina Morton, and this is the podcast where we prune away all the things standing between you and the woman that God has created you to be. Today's episode is a really fun one. We've got Heather Riggs here. Heather Riggs is the founder of Her Style LLC and host of the top 10 fashion and beauty show, Her Style podcast. As an 18-year certified image consultant and color specialist, Heather teaches ambitious women a smarter way to dress, taking the art and science of personal style and turning it into a clear, repeatable system to build a wardrobe that actually works. And then in the show notes, Heather has given us a link to her free 5-minute style quiz, which I personally have taken, and it's amazing what you can discover in just a few minutes. So check the show notes for that, you guys. So otherwise, Heather, welcome, and thank you for joining us on Pruning to Prosper today.
Hi, Gina. I'm so happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, so why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself, like where you're calling in from and how you got started in this adventure of helping women dress better?
Sure. Well, I live in the Philadelphia area. You and I are pretty close to one another, I believe, right? So I'm in southern New Jersey. We call it the garden part of the Garden State, not to insult our lovely neighbors to the north. And I have always loved fashion since I was a little girl. I'll date myself a little bit, but I was obsessed with paper dolls and Barbies and fashion plates and mom madness as a kid. Anything fashion related that I could get my hands on, that was how I spent my time. And I definitely developed an early shopping addiction. As soon as I got my first job, I would spend every paycheck at the mall. And I also worked at the mall. So that was probably not the best idea for me at the time. But I've always loved this industry, and it's been such a joy to be able to grow my skills and use it to serve other women. I've definitely gotten my own shopping under control, and I love helping other women do the same, just to be more intentional with how I spend my money, the things that I choose to bring into my closet. And I've definitely up leveled that over the years.
I do believe it really is a life skill that we should all learn. And
Yes.
I, I, I'm excited to hear what you have to say today. But one of my first things I want to say to everyone listening is, do not be afraid to invest in yourself. Like this is something that we do every day. We get up and we get dressed, and I really feel the connection between how we dress and how we go about our day. And I know I personally listen to Heather's podcast, so I know she feels the same way. So Heather, tell us a little bit about like the typical woman that comes to your podcast or joins your community. Like, what is she struggling with and what is she looking for?
Yeah, what I've noticed across the board is that generally women who come into my community, my program, and who become clients, they love fashion. But there has been some kind of change in her life, and we all go through these things, whether it's postpartum, she became a mom, she's entered a new decade of life, maybe her career has changed, or she's gotten a promotion, or she's retired. Something in her life has changed, and her wardrobe hasn't. So suddenly she starts to feel this mismatch, and getting dressed every day becomes really challenging because the wardrobe that used to serve her no longer does. And she's not clear on what works for her anymore, and she feels a little bit lost. I think that's especially true for moms because it really is such a shift in your identity. And it can feel tough to pinpoint, okay, what does my wardrobe look like in this next phase of life? And it really does take a little bit of intentionality to dig in and figure out what that answer is.
Yeah, I think again, it's not something that we're taught usually.
Mhm.
And I know, so I'm a declutter coach and I have decluttered a lot of wardrobes. And it just feels like there's a lot of um, items, but yet the women really don't love any of it. Nothing. So my criteria for what stays is it has to fit, um, flatter you, and make you feel fabulous.
I
And then
love that.
the first thing, all my clients are like, I'm not gonna have anything left, Gina. And I'm like, you'd be surprised. Like, let's just keep going. So, like, what do you tell a woman? So, okay, so you're our first episode of March. And in March, we are working on decluttering our wardrobes. So,
Mhm.
where would you tell a woman to begin? Like, I know what I say, but I want them to hear from you because sometimes you just have to hear it from somebody different or like a different point of view. So if a woman is staring at a wardrobe and she's just like, you know, it's packed, but she has
Mhm.
nothing to wear. So like, where do you have her begin?
Okay. there's kind of two angles that I want to take to my answer, if that's okay. So,
Yep.
the first one is that I just want to address the mindset shift that needs to happen because, to your point, she might be feeling a lot of fear that once she starts getting rid of things, she's going to have nothing left. And there's that, like, on one hand, she has too much and nothing's working. So she still doesn't have anything to wear, right? So we have to realize what you have isn't serving you anyway. A lot of it isn't getting worn. We know statistically most women wear only 10% or less of what's in her wardrobe. So it's okay to let go of those things. I want to encourage her to shift the question from, or really the feeling of nothing's working, to how could I make this work? And so I like to start small because I have seen women go through and just get rid of everything and then go into panic mode and do some impulse shopping to try to quickly fill those gaps. And it really is important to slow down, give yourself a little breathing room. And I think less is more when you're first getting started. You can always keep decluttering, right? And do more and more sessions. But if you're feeling overwhelmed at the thought of just beginning, I think that you can either do the lowest hanging fruit. And I literally tell women, if it makes you feel good just to get the ball rolling, just take on your sock drawer. Like, literally set a timer for 15 minutes, do the smallest thing, something you're the least emotionally attached to, because I'm sure you see that a lot, Gina. There's so many emotions tied up in our clothes and the past versions of ourselves or sentimental reasons that we bought it or places that we wore it. So start with your sock or underwear drawer, literally just to kind of get your feet wet and get that momentum going. You'll see how good it feels to start clearing things out, having space again, having less but better in your wardrobe. You can do that. Or if you're someone who's like, no, it for me, I want to start to see the bigger results. Maybe you start with the hardest thing first. I don't know if you've heard the expression eat the frog. It's like, do the hardest thing because then everything else will feel easier. So if you are someone who, like me, and I've talked about this a lot on my podcast, I once counted 32 cocktail dresses in my closet. And at the same time, I didn't have a properly fitting bra. So I am not speaking to you from a pedestal. I've been there and had a lot of impractical things in my closet that weren't serving me. Maybe you want to start by weeding through the thing that's bogging you down the most, and then everything else will be easier. So I think you can start, you got to know your personality and start where you think you'll be able to keep going the best.
Yeah, I agree. So I typically say, start with the trash. So if that means
Mm,
like the socks that have holes in them, the ones that don't stay out
yeah.
properly, the ones that slip under your sneaker, like the little ones, like just get rid of them, and then so that's what I say is like start with the easy, like the trash. But yeah, like sometimes you do need to, like you said, like eat the frog and rip off the band-aid and say like, okay, I no longer have a corporate job. So should we get rid of all the Jones of New York suits? Like that was my
Right.
wardrobe before I had kids, was it was all like suits and stuff. But I think eventually I was like, okay, let's be realistic. I'm not going back to work. At least that's my plan, if something were to happen. So the other thing I encounter a lot is about the sunk cost. So they're like,
Mhm.
I'm afraid to get rid of this, or like, I'm just keeping it because I paid so much for it. Um,
Yes.
what are your what are your kind of what can you offer to the woman that's a little bit nervous because maybe money's not, coming in, especially if she's recently started to stay home or they've cut back or something like that. So like, how do you, I don't know, what would you say to that woman that's like a little bit nervous because she's like, I spent all this money on this stuff. Now what?
I know. First, I want to address the reality that there is some guilty feelings that come up in that of I invested in this and I'm not utilizing it. And now I feel bad or wrong that I did that. And so the first thing is to just be really gentle and gracious with yourself in this process. Again, we've all made those shopping mistakes, but you have to remember it did serve you in a season. There is a reason that you bought that piece. And the best thing that you can do is to learn from it. And that way you can start to make better and more empowered decisions moving forward. So instead of going down the shame spiral, really just stop for a minute and say, what can I learn from this purchase? What did I really love about it? How could I make a better investment? Maybe with the same type of fabric, or maybe I just loved that color. What was it about that piece that really drew you to it, so that you can do more of what is working and less of what isn't? And also, you have to realize you're not getting that money back just because it's sitting on a hanger in your closet, right? So instead of seeing it every day and being reminded that you're not getting that return on your investment, give it a second life, give it to someone else who can use it, whether it's donating that piece. That feels so good to be able to give to someone. If you have a closet full of suits and you don't go into the office anymore, you could donate it to a local, dress for success type of organization, and have that feeling of, okay, this investment is doing something worthwhile. It's paying it forward to the next person, and giving that piece a second life. And also, maybe there is a way that you could better utilize it. I think, especially, you had brought up suits, and it's so important to look at each individual piece instead of looking at it as a complete outfit. Is there a way that you could dress down the blazer and maybe pair it with jeans for a styled up, high low kind of look for the weekend or something like that? So maybe it's getting a little bit creative in how you're wearing those pieces, and also being okay to learn from it and finally let it go and just release yourself from that guilt.
Yeah, I just love so much of what you just said. So just to kind of like recap for everyone listening, let's say you have a shirt or a dress that you bought and you never wear it. You're like, oh, but I spent money on this. I think what you're saying is look at it. Like maybe you bought a dress because you need something for church. Maybe you bought it because it's a one outfit. Like I love dresses because it's like, that's the whole thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
And so then you say, okay, maybe I'm the kind of girl that likes dresses. And maybe it's a color that looks really good on you. So you can kind of like analyze the piece and, take it apart, the color, the structure, the fit. Like I personally, I love the idea of like bohemian, like flowy and just like, flower child kind of look. But I am 5'4". And so anytime I buy that stuff, I just feel like I'm drowning. And finally, my husband said to me, he's like, you look good in fitted things, like things that actually fit you properly. And once I started shopping with that criteria in mind, I made so many fewer mistakes, So I think like, look at the outfit and just say like, okay, I like the color. I like that it's a dress, but what's not working? And then you kind of start narrowing it down from there. You said something else that I'm also, oh, I love how you said, kind of take apart the suit. I was listening to a recent episode of yours where you interviewed one of your clients, and she talked about wearing shorts with a blazer. I don't know if you remember that episode.
Isabel, yep, I know exactly who you're talking about.
Days ago. So I'm like folding laundry and I'm listening to your episode, and I immediately paused you. I went to my closet because I have a white blazer that I love, and I bought it maybe 2 years ago, and it has brass buttons, but I never really wear it because I'm like, what do I wear it with? So I got these shorts out and I laid it all out on my bed. I put the blazer with shorts and different shirts, and I took pictures of everything to remind myself that come spring, and I feel like just with that one little sentence, you gave me probably 5 outfits and a blazer. It was Banana Republic blazer, so I probably spent decent money on it. And I still love it, but I'm like, I'm just not using it. I'm not wearing it. So I think like it's good to get different ideas like that and just kind of think out of the box. And I think that's why listening to your podcast would be good for people, because you get great ideas. You give very practical advice, and it's a lot of what I do when I'm working in someone's house. I'm like, okay, how can we repurpose this outfit? Or like, if you love it but you never wear it, can we pair it with sneakers? Can we pair it with boots? So like, I love all that you're saying is like, let's not necessarily be quick to donate all of it, but just, can we break it apart, and maybe the pants of the suit is what you really love, but you're not a blazer girl anymore. I love all that you're saying. What are your thoughts on dressing every day? Like, how do you feel that getting dressed equates to how you feel and affects how you feel?
Yeah, I think you kind of made this point earlier that there really is something to be said for look good, feel good. And my belief is not that you need to get dressed up every day. I think it's that you need to be intentional about how you get dressed every day. And I think that you can look and feel amazing in pajamas or in loungewear if you're being intentional to wear things that are in your best colors, fits that make you feel great and that flatter your body, if you're being true to your personal style, if you're finishing the look with maybe even just simple accessories or a little bit of makeup, it's taking your look all the way to completion. And it really does help you to be able to feel confident and secure in who you are when you're showing up that way on the outside. I think the best thing is to put on your outfit in the morning and not have to think about it the rest of the day. You're
Hmm.
not adjusting it. You're not running to change really quick if somebody comes to the door because you don't want to feel embarrassed to go answer it, right? It's just feeling your best and who you are every single day. And that really does allow you to focus out on others, to show up more presently and fully in the work that you're doing. It's motivating. If you wear the right colors, it can brighten up your day and make you feel happy. I love to wear my favorite colors when it's like a gloomy, rainy day and I just don't feel motivated because psychologically it does something to you, just to surround yourself with your favorite fabrics, right? So it's not that you have to dress up, but it is important to get dressed. Unfortunately, it's something we have to do every day, whether you love it or you don't. So I think it's great to make the most of it and just wear things that make you feel amazing and
Yeah,
have some fun.
I love that you gave a realistic answer because, if people are listening and they're stay-at-home moms and maybe they're in the muck of toddlers and breastfeeding or whatever, you can still look cute and feel cute even in like, you know, sweats or, just loungewear, but accessories, like even just putting on like nice earrings or a fun bracelet or cute sneakers, like I just feel like I'm a big advocate of like get dressed to the shoes. Like even when I'm home all day, I still wear my shoes in my house and stuff. Um, okay, so here's another thing I have heard recently, and it's for people that actually really do love style, but they maybe don't work in a place where people put in a little bit more effort. And so they don't want to show up with that little bit extra, even if it's just lipstick or fun earrings, because they are afraid of standing out or they just feel like, well, that's just not the vibe of the office or something like that. Is there anything you can say to that?
Oh, yeah. I've worked with a lot of clients who, whether it's a work environment or even just a geographical location, if they've moved and they find that a place is much more casual. In fact, Isabel on that same podcast episode you were listening to spoke to that a little bit. Her area where she lives, everyone's super casual and outdoorsy, but she has a really feminine style. She likes to dress up. She likes to feel, well put together and even a little bit alluring at times. So it's how do you marry what you love with what's appropriate for your environment? And I would say, in terms of a workplace, you always want to be mindful of any dress code requirements, right? So I think it's always better to be a little overdressed than underdressed, especially at work. And I think, again, there's truth to dress for the job that you want, not the job that you have. So, what's funny is a lot of my clients, as they start to kind of up level their wardrobes, again, not even necessarily being more dressed up, but more intentionally styled, they find that they get promotions that they weren't even expecting or raises because your higher ups will take notice if you are showing up, especially if you're showing up to a level that nobody else is. That can be a huge advantage to you in your career. So I think it's really figuring out what you want your style to be and what does make you excited to get dressed and try to tune out the noise. I know that can be challenging to do, but if you just kind of put yourself in a little bubble for 20 minutes and say, if I didn't have to go to the office, if I didn't have to leave this room and I was just going to get dressed for myself, the things that make me feel good that I'm excited to buy and put together in the morning, what would that look like? And just let yourself dream a little bit and imagine what that ideal style is for you. And then you can start taking little baby steps to infuse it into your everyday looks. You don't have to do a full on wardrobe makeover. You don't have to go into the office wearing all the loudest, brightest colors, but maybe you're going to do a small accessory that just gives you a little pop. And I think once you are so secure in what you love, it makes you that much more confident to start trusting yourself in that and caring a little bit less about what other people think. But it is a gradual progression and it is smart to just take little baby steps. So, especially if you're someone who's a little more self conscious, you probably don't want to make a big overnight splash, but you can slowly start to upgrade. And I bet you'll notice that people start complimenting you a lot more and maybe also pay attention to what they're wearing as well. So you can be the one to kind of, they say what is the expression? A rising tide lifts all boats.
Right.
And you
Right.
could be that for your workplace and really inspire those around you.
Yeah, I love that. I never thought of it in that way, that you could be the rising tide for all the other women, and because maybe they're just waiting for permission too. You
Hmm.
never know, and like they always say that makeup is recession proof, because no matter how tight things are, women will always find the money for a lipstick or mascara or something like that. And I think sometimes we just need to encourage one another to really, be who we were created to be. And if that means that like your light is shining, then let it shine. Like don't I'm like I get really like disappointed when I see a woman like dimming her light. And I just feel like, come on, like you were made for more than that. So, okay, I have a couple questions like running through my brain right now. Another thing that I've seen is these. I don't want to call out brands, but like a subscription where they get clothing every month, but it's
Hmm.
like, I went with a client one time and she had like, let's just say like 14 of the same shirts or like very similar shirts. And I'm like, why do you have so many of these shirts? And she said, well, it's cheaper for me to keep them than to send it back. It was one of those kind of subscriptions.
Hmm.
So, like, what are your thoughts on these subscriptions that are out there? Do you think they're worth it? Or is there anything that we should be looking for in particular to
Mm.
like for a good one? If women are like, let me just dip my toe into getting some new things.
Yeah. So I'm happy to call out brands if you don't
Okay,
want to.
go ahead. I don't mind either.
So I will say personally, I have never tried or advocated for a clothing subscription service like Stitch Fix, for
That's the
example.
one I'm talking about.
Yeah, so I've gone on there myself, just curiosity wise,
Hmm.
and I haven't done this in a while. So if there, please forgive me if things have changed. But when
Hmm.
I went before, I did the full survey to fill out my information. And the reason that I would never use them is because they didn't ask for one photo of what I looked like. And in my mind, as a stylist, I couldn't dream to style or make recommendations for someone without knowing what their personal coloring is. What is their actual body type? A lot of times we have misconceptions about we see something different when we look in the mirror versus what others see sometimes. And sometimes I will have clients who come to me and they say, oh, my shoulders are so broad. I can't wear this thing. And when I actually show them and kind of draw the lines and help them see, no, your body is an hourglass shape. You might not like those things or feel confident in them. But to my point, sometimes it's hard to see ourselves um, objectively. And
Hmm.
so I would not take recommendations from someone who had no idea what I looked like, who didn't know what my lifestyle was. I know that they do their best, and you can train your stylist. I know that is a thing. You can train your Stitch Fix stylist to send things that you really like, but what you just said is a red flag for me. If it is less expensive to keep the thing than to send it back, I think that's an issue. You've got to love what's in your wardrobe. And if you end up with a lot of things that don't work well together, that aren't cohesive, you've got to think about your wardrobe almost like it's your own little boutique that you are curating. And so for people to send you one off items, and you're not thinking about the big picture of how it fits into your calendar or how it fits into what you already have, you're going to end up with a lot of headaches. Even if the individual pieces are really cute, you're going to struggle to get dressed if you're not thinking about how it all works together and serves your real life. Now,
Hmm.
what I do love and I use personally is clothing rental services like Newly. I think that's a great way to play with different styles. You pick what you get. So there are certain colors that I will not bring in, like if I just ignore anything black because I don't love black, it's not my best color, right? So you have a little bit more discretion on what you get from that, and you are required to send it back. I mean, you can keep things if you want, or you can buy them for less, but I know it's just a little way to play each month, and I have that allotted in my budget, and I know it's all going to go back, and then I can pick out some new fun things, and it's you avoid the long-term commitment of ending up with a lot of stuff that you're not going to want to wear long term. You can play with trends, and for me, I think that's just a smarter way to go. If you are someone who wants new things all the time, just rent them. You don't be pressured into buying stuff constantly. That's my thought.
I 100% agree, because I still love to shop. Like I'm a big thrifter. I love going
Yeah.
thrifting, but I'm also a declutter coach. So people are like, "Wait, how does that work, Gina?" I'm like, "Well, because like it's like a cycle. Like stuff comes in, like I don't know if you can see my background there. Can you see my shelves?
I can see you have books and
Like like all my little things on my shelves. Like I love to thrift
Oh
for
yeah,
like
the
that kind of
decorating.
stuff, and I change it around. And like sometimes I feel like I'm just borrowing it. Like I'll buy it for a few bucks from the thrift store, I'll use it for a few months, and then back it goes. And so my
Hmm.
house isn't like totally overwhelmed with stuff, but now, so I do rent the runway,
Yeah.
and I just started that this in 2025 because I wanted a wow dress for this event my husband had in New York City. And I thought, well, I could go down to King of Prussia and I could drop $1,000 on a dress. But then it's like, do I really want to own a hot pink dress? You know what I mean? So that's how I got
Right.
into Rent the Runway. And then I just kept it. And it kind of, to me, is the same thing as thrifting. It's like I borrow it for a month, and I've had mostly hits. I've had a couple of misses, but you get to be exposed to all these different brands, all these different styles. And so that's kind of what I'm looking for. And I really haven't purchased anything else. Like, I feel like that's enough of a fix that I don't
Hmm.
need to be bringing more and more and more. In fact, I keep decluttering more and more because once you start trying different styles, you do feel like, okay, maybe these pants that served me 2 years ago when I was doing Beachbody every day, maybe they're not quite as comfortable
Hmm.
anymore. And it's okay. Like you just, like you said too, like it's the cost of learning the lesson. I call it tuition, is what I say to my clients.
Hmm.
Is like,
Oh, I love
you know,
that.
you paid a price, you learned a lesson, and that's it. We're going to move on. We're not going to beat ourselves up. But it's true. I get so many compliments on things when I wear them from Rent the Runway. Like
Hmm.
people, my husband, my one review for Rent the Runway was almost caused an accident in New York City because this woman walked out in front of traffic because my husband's like, she was staring at your outfit and she almost got hit by a car. And so I was like, that's so funny. But I do think it's a good, fun way to try new styles and without the big investment in, like, one, the cost, but two, the stuff. Like, it's not like an
Hmm.
overwhelming amount of stuff, you know? The other thing you keep talking about is color. So tell us a little bit about your role as a color specialist and how you work with your clients in that capacity.
Yes, that is my absolute favorite aspect of the work that I get to do, just because I have seen the difference that knowing your best colors makes when you're building out your wardrobe and getting dressed. Um, statistically, they say that between 62 to 90% of someone's first impression of you is based on color alone. So it's a really powerful resource to have in your wardrobe to have the right colors, to understand the psychology of using them in really smart and strategic ways for the different things that you have going on. So there's so much that you can do with color. One of the things that's a little tough to see right now happening in the industry, I love that color analysis has really skyrocketed in popularity. The challenge sometimes though is that with like the seasonal systems, they really just lock people into one little box, and it's just based on your personal coloring. So the approach that I love to do, I am trained in seasonal color analysis. That is my background. There's tons of value in it. I love to go a few steps further to also consider someone's personality. You said sometimes people don't really want to stand out. So if you get a palette of bright, vivid colors, they might look amazing on you, but if you don't feel comfortable to wear them, you're not going to utilize that. And I also want to consider your preferences. So sometimes I have clients come to me and they say, I just love the color yellow. I don't know that I can wear it. I really want to know my best one. So I look at it as a little challenge to figure out, okay, what are your best versions of these colors? I think you can wear any color you want. It's about finding the right version of it and then using it strategically in your wardrobe. So I love educating women on all of those things, what their best colors are, how they can use it psychologically, how they can have it show up and reflect their personality. And when your wardrobe is in a cohesive color palette, it does make it so much easier to mix and match everything. And of course, I think it's fun to play outside the lines a little bit, and I don't like to give people a lot of rules. I think it's fun to learn the rules like a pro and then break them like an artist. So I always empower people to, if there's a color that you love and it's not in your palette, let's figure out ways to make it work, because I think life is too short to not have fun, to not experiment. But it is such a useful thing that I think people don't take enough advantage of figuring that piece out.
So when you work with someone, I'm assuming it's via Zoom, right? Or how do you do the colors with them?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I don't do the color analysis via Zoom. What I do is I have them complete a full survey for me so I can get to know a little bit more about their personality, their preferences, what colors they don't like that they would rather me leave out of their palette. So we kind of go through all of the preferences there. And then I have them submit headshots to me, and there's examples and requirements for those to get them in natural daylight with and without makeup so that I can kind of get a sense of what is their true skin tone type, all of those things, which I'll share with them. And then also, I think it is helpful to see what their everyday makeup routine is because that can sometimes impact your best colors too. So they just send me photos and then I do all the design work, send it over to them, get any feedback. If they're like, okay, I love this, maybe this color I'm not as drawn to, we'll switch it out. My goal is that you look at your palette and you say, this is me. Like you captured me in colors. And so it's a collaborative process because I want it to feel absolutely perfect for each person. But no two palettes are the same. And it's fun for me to be able to get to design that and have some flexibility in the process.
I love all of this. Like my brain is like going on all cylinders because I don't know that I love fashion. I love I always say when I work with a client, I'm not a stylist, but I know a woman that feels good when I see her. And that's my passion. But like I feel like I can only go so far. And then I do think people need to invest in someone like you because you do have the knowledge behind it. You have these skills and just the awareness of brands that I don't know about, or, just different ways to style things. Like I'll try my best, or, if a woman has a certain body type, going into a wardrobe declutter, I'll Google it, I'll watch a ton of videos, I'll do my things. But I really think if you guys are interested in this at all, I really would encourage you to check out Heather's podcast, or even go a step further and invest in some coaching with her, and like tell us a little bit about what are the options for working with you.
Well, my best recommendation, I have a 90-day group coaching program, and that is a great place to jump in because we go through all of the steps. My goal in that program is to teach you to become your own best stylist. I believe in giving you the autonomy to be able to rinse and repeat the framework that I teach every single season for the rest of your life. So it is a one-time investment that will pay dividends every single season. Through that program, we go through what I refer to as the style foundations, which are discovering your signature style, learning how to flatter your figure as it is right now. And of course, you'll understand how to adapt for that because our weight always fluctuates as women. We go through different seasons, and I don't want that to derail how good you feel in your clothing and how confident you feel in your style. And then the third piece is discovering your best colors. Once you have those three foundations, you are so much more empowered and equipped with information to audit your closet. So that's the fourth step. We go through and look at what do you have, what's working, what's not working, what's missing, so that before you start buying things, you're really able to look at, okay, what is the need that I have? What's the hardest thing to get dressed for in my life right now? We can make a strategic shopping list. We support you with budgeting for that. We help you find the right pieces that are in your best colors. And the great thing is that you get to go through that whole process within a community of like-minded women who are running alongside you. We have the most encouraging community. And it's so nice to know that you're not alone in your struggles, to have other people supporting you in making those decisions as you're building those skills and your confidence level with doing all of this. And then you can just at the start of each season, I say go back through the whole process. It'll just be quicker every time you go through, but that way you're always keeping a pulse on making sure you have what you need, that your style is still working for you. So you never hit those ruts of, oh my gosh, I haven't even looked at my wardrobe in 3 years, 4 years, and now nothing's working for me. You can always make sure it's staying current for you and up to date. So that is the complete framework. It's the most affordable option to working with me. I do have one-on-one clients as well, but I think the program is just such a no-brainer because you get all of that, including your personal color palette I designed for you as well. So you won't leave with anything left that you need after that process.
Yeah. That is really, I think I'm going to look into that because I feel like I'm okay, but I also feel like I'm kind of ready for the next phase of life. And I feel like I don't know, I'm ready to step up my game, I guess you could say. So I think I'm going to look into that and full disclosure, Heather is going to work with my daughter because we are going to Italy in June. And I reached out to Heather and I was like, do you work with teenagers and can you help her do like a capsule wardrobe for Italy? Because the last time we went to Europe, the kids looked, I thought they looked okay, but it was 4 weeks and it was everything from like the Vatican to hiking in the Alps. Like it was just like so many different activities that then they would like the t-shirt that was for hiking ended up being worn at the Vatican or something. And then the pictures, like looking back, my daughter's like, I'm not really happy with my look. So Heather's going to work with her to help us get a nice wardrobe that she can look back at her photos and be proud of. But so, and I do think it's a life skill. You know, it's our Sweet 16 gift. And I thought instead of a big party that's over in, you know, a couple of hours, I could give her this life skill. So I'm really excited to see how you're going to work with her. But me personally, I think I might jump on this 90-day group coaching program because I'm just curious and I'm excited. And I really do think that this is like, I don't know how you are. I don't want to ask about your faith or anything because we didn't talk about that. But like, I just feel like this is like your gift that you have for the world. And it's like you're meant to use it and help other women, you know? So.
I'm very open and happy to talk about my faith. And I'm sure, Gina, you know, as an entrepreneur, there are a lot of challenges in that. And there have been many moments on my knees in prayer of like, Lord, is this really what you want for me? You know, it's hard this to have your own business and to work for yourself. And every time I get confirmation, like, yes, keep going, be faithful in that. And so I appreciate you saying that. It's definitely a passion for me. And I do feel like it's God's calling on my life. And it's such a joy to be able to see women who, you know, most like you, who love fashion, who feel like they're good in their style to come through and just see their confidence soar is the most rewarding thing for me. And also to be able to support them in making more intentional purchases. It can feel really frivolous to think about investing in your style, but the fact is, you know, we already talked about you wear so little of the clothing that you buy, and to be able to make smarter purchases is it helps empower you that you're doing responsible things with the money that you have, and it will benefit your family when you're making smarter investments in your wardrobe. And also, you know, like you've said, you're showing up at your as your best self every day and enjoying getting dressed, learning to love the body that you're in. All of those things are kind of byproduct of doing the work, which is so cool.
Yeah, I love it. I really do think like this is what you like. Clearly, since a little kid, this is what you were called to do, and you know, then you do the education to make it, you know, a business and all that stuff. But I think, like, I just think you're so great, and I would encourage everyone to take the 5-minute quiz, get started there, and then maybe look into the coaching or even one-to-one if people want to just like have a little bit more individual attention. That would be great. So is there anything else you want to share with us, Heather, before we say goodbye? Anything we missed?
Well, I just want to thank you for all of your kind words and encouragement. And this isn't something that we talked about, but if anyone does, you know, take the quiz and you kind of dive into the podcast and you decide that you're interested in, you know, coming through the program, I'm happy for your audience, Gina, to add a 30-day extended access bonus to the training so we could work together for a full 4 months. So if
Wow.
they just want to reach out personally, let me know that they, you know, discovered me through the show. I'd be happy to, you know, give them a
Oh,
little
thank
extra
you.
time and support on the journey.
Great. That's so generous of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, of course.
All right. Well, have a great day. Thank you so much for joining us today. And I hope that this inspired the listeners to maybe get started on decluttering your wardrobe. Don't be so scared. That's going to be your homework this month is working on your wardrobe, but also like maybe start, you know, figuring out what you love, looking at the pieces that you do wear on a regular basis. Why do you love those pieces? Is it the color? Is it the fit? Is it the style? Can you pull out something that you still love, but you're not wearing it enough? Can you wear it in a different way? Can you break apart a suit? I think Heather gave us a lot of good tips that we can begin March with. And we are going to have our one-to-one live. I'm saying this, and hold on. I always start talking about the live before I have my calendar open. So our live this month, you guys, is going to be on March 18th from 2 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So definitely pop on that and we'll pray a rosary together, and then we can answer any questions you may have about decluttering your wardrobe. Okay, but otherwise be on the lookout for Saturday episodes to focus on decluttering your wardrobe. Have a great day. Thanks so much, you guys. And thank you to Heather for joining us.
Thanks, Gina.